All right, welcome. We're back with Jamie Dauw today. So me and Kate have been talking about having you on for a while and trying to get your schedule to line up and everything. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And, I was just telling you a little bit before we got into this. I was just having this discussion with another female client who is in her 40s, who's like, hey, I feel like I'm starting to lose a little power, and it's something I really feel like I have to keep up with. Like I need to do box jumps or Olympic lifts or powerlifting to really maintain that. It doesn't just stick around anymore.
Right.
And I know we had that discussion a little bit before, and we'll kind of swing back around to that. But I love to start these things out by just asking you, like, growing up, what is like physical activity like for you? Did you play sports? What was exercise like as an adult, before you got into this? Because you got into this, late 30s, early 40, like 40 maybe?
A little bit before that, actually. So before I lived in Columbus, I lived in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
And I did it for a few years there, so that's
Sweet.
Where I started.
I was going to say, you seem like you knew what you were doing, like right off the bat.
A little bit.
Okay, cool. So, back up before then, like high school, growing up as a kid, any sports you liked or anything like that?
Yeah, so growing up, I was into dance and gymnastics. So that was kind of my jam, which kind of led me to here naturally. In high school, we did not have a gymnastics team, so I was a cheerleader. So I did that in high school and then kind of continued with my gymnastics through, that way.
Yep.
And yeah, growing up, my parents were both very active as well. So my dad was a cyclist. I remember going to my mom's aerobics classes with her and sitting in the kids' room while she did that. So, I was always surrounded by that my whole life, which I think helped me as well as an adult, just, prioritizing fitness.
You kind of thought in your head, like, this is something I should be doing.
Yeah. When you have that.
Yeah.
It's not always nice when you have that role model,
Yep.
Was it step aerobics or floor aerobics?
I think it was step aerobics. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I just remember like these, moments of like seeing her and her friends and they're doing it. And
like, I would tag along with my mom to aerobics classes too.
I used to teach step aerobics back in like Coshocton.
Yeah.
Nice. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was a good workout.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, I did aerobics in college too. One of my roommates was a teacher for a while, and so we always go to her classes.
Yeah.
And, so in college, I did a little bit of that, and then I just kind of got into, basic exercising at the gym. I went to Miami University. They have an amazing fitness center. I'm not sure if you've ever been there before, but just did like the Stairmaster or the treadmill, maybe some light weights. Was never really into weightlifting, but I'd power on that Stairmaster for like 30 minutes
I love that
at a time,
thing. Yeah.
Looking back, I'm like, how did I do that for so long? But
we might be getting one of those.
We're just looking at one. Yeah, because I feel like that's the piece I love that thing at Lifetime still.
Yeah.
And I was there for 13 years, and it's just such a good workout. But I don't know how I put in the time there that I did. Did you ever get into like the Tai Bo stuff, like the kickboxing? Those sort of classes?
No, I didn't do any of that, but it was definitely big when I was in college.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing a lot of that.
That was your options before CrossFit right there.
Yeah.
That was if you wanted to do a group exercise.
I
like
still have some Tai Bo DVDs. I do.
Do you? Yeah.
You got to mix it up.
Yep.
If anyone, the full collection of Tai Bo is on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. Like, they're all uploaded.
They're good workouts. I do one of the, hey, we have a trip planned to LA. I'm not above doing that.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Do you is it like shadow boxing kind of workouts in your living room?
Move, it's kind of like aerobic.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, it's a
good
ton of fun.
I feel like it loosened me up a lot. It's good.
Yeah.
I saw our Airbnb. There's enough room in the living room. Just saying.
I remember
bring it back.
The infomercials. I would get sucked into those at 2 a.m. like, oh, and then just watch it.
Like the Billy Blanks, and it
was
huge.
P90X. I'd like watch the whole pitch. I'd never buy anything. I'd just be like, oh, man, I bet that would work.
Yeah.
That was good TV. I'm just saying. It was good TV.
Back to Jamie.
Back to Jamie, yeah. So moving forward, this is what usually happens too. I usually see people, there's a gap between college and then like maybe where you picked something else up. Like, so what did you continue to do kind of athletically?
After I graduated from college, I got into running. So I became a little bit of a runner, you know, just kind of doing 5Ks, stuff like that, the simple things. And then that kind of evolved into, all right, let's try a half marathon, you know. So I did, when I lived in Cincinnati, I did the Flying Pig half marathon, I think like 4 years in a row. And that's a challenging one. I've
heard that one is really challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say, you know, at this point I was in my like early 30s, kind of started really getting into that. And as I did my last one, the last year I did it like sub 2 hours. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done with this. Like my body was just starting to feel it. But it was interesting because the first 3 that I did were pre-CrossFit. And then I started doing CrossFit down in Cincinnati at CrossFit Blue Ash. And after I had started doing that, I did my last half marathon, and my time
cut down,
decreased, you know, significantly. And I think it's mainly in part due to the CrossFit and adding muscle. And so that was pretty cool to see. So then I just, after that last one, I was like, you know, I'm feeling like I'm getting older. These long distance runs are becoming really hard on my body, my knees, my hips, everything would just ache afterwards. And I'm like, you know, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I kind of want to get into something a little more class-based, you know, community-based. And so I found CrossFit. And
what year was that then?
Oh, that's a great question. It was over 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly what year it was.
12, 13, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So I started CrossFit down there, then moved up here to Columbus, found CrossFit Grandview, and this is what I've been doing for the last 7 years.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So did you move here 7 years ago?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it for work?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved here for work. My family lives in Cincinnati. They still do. My parents, my brother. Okay. So, yeah, I came here and found CrossFit Grandview and never looked back. And
awesome.
Yeah.
So, just for those of you who know, like, Jamie has been very consistent and not dropped off. And, like, you know, what I always talk about with people, if, like, you're maintaining and, like, you're getting, like, past a certain age, if you're maintaining, you're gaining. Like,
yeah.
And, like, it's as every bit as, like, you know, someone who I'll see who's, like, you know, 27, 28, and they're, you know, their things. If I see someone who's, you know, 40, and then I look back at them and they're, like, 43 or 4, and they're, like, just as good as they were, I'm like,
yeah,
dude, you're doing it. Like, that's, and you've not only done that, but, like, you're still hitting PRs. Like, you did, I think I had you in class a few months ago. We got a bar muscle up, and
yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have gotten that a long time ago, coming from a gymnastics background, but for whatever reason, I just struggled with that. And I think maybe part of it was, you know, that I've started doing Power Hour, put on some muscle, and I think that probably helped as well.
Absolutely.
And then your wonderful coaching
there we
helped
go.
as well. So yeah, that was exciting when I finally got that. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard when you get older. I mean, I would say the last couple years I've really started noticing it. You know,
we were having conversations about this at the Sands party.
Yeah, it's like, man, what's going on?
But you know, and it is interesting because I have a running background too, and I just want to point out, you were saying how your body felt tired and like you're getting too old to do all the, like, long distance running. So, and I have to remind myself of that as well. Coming from that running background or just doing fitness shows, I remember feeling just so exhausted at so many points in my late 20s, early 30s, but I was just too, like, stubborn to, like, admit it. So I think part of it is, like, truly just getting older, wiser, and, like, okay, hey, I'm not feeling great, what's not working, where I think when you're younger, you just don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it just gets in our heads, like, okay, we're older, our bodies can't take it. But I've been at this point where my body's been like, no, that's enough. With fitness shows, with long distance running, with many different things, you know, that doing 2 days, 3 days, whatever, you know, your body will tell you no at a certain point. It's just, then I think when you become aware and acknowledge it, then it's like, you're usually older and like, okay, now I'm old. But, well, your body's told you that at different times, you know?
Yeah, when you're in your 20s, you just power through. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I can just power through this.
And you can, but I swear that's why I have arthritis in my knees now. Like going down to Columbia when we got stem cells. And it was really cool that the guy that advised us, he was an orthopedic doctor. And he's like, okay, whatever you did in your 20s and 30s to get to this point, don't keep doing it. Because it's not just your age. It's putting like too many miles, running when you don't feel well. Like it's just pushing through all the time.
You did a lot of really aggressive lower body workouts though too. Like you would lunge I mean you were you still are.
I'm still the best lunger in the gym. Yeah. They're really good skills.
You would do tons of really hard weighted lunges where you're pounding your knees into the ground and stuff. Like, I mean, even just.
Well, we never did them to that depth, like back in it wasn't like knee had to touch the ground. We were just kind of, but yeah, you're right. It's kind of just like miles reps on your body. I feel like at a certain point, you know, week in, week out. And it's neat to have like that history and never taking a break. But sometimes I think like, gosh, well, if I would have just fallen off for 5 years, I could have saved my body some miles. And you know, we have that foundational strength, but I think it does add up. Yeah. You know.
For sure.
But yeah.
And that's when I was starting to feel it. Like I said, I think it was kind of my early 30s, maybe mid 30s. I can't remember when I did my last one, but I was just like, yep. You know, the day after those long runs, my hips and knees and everything would just be aching. And I'm like, man, it's just a lot on your body. I think running is really hard on your body. I mean, I do a little bit of it nowadays, but not anything near what I used to.
Yeah,
and,
same.
You know, it is what it is. It's a good workout, and it was fun while it lasted, but, you know.
And if you didn't find weight training yet too, because it's a nice, so when I would run those halves, I still like swear by this, I wouldn't really do any more than like 2 straight runs a week, just because the miles start to add up so much. And if you can kind of complement it with like the weight training, but almost every running program out there advises to run 4 or 5 days a week. Yeah. So it's like setting you up for all this overuse.
Oh, for sure. And I always had a guide that I followed. I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody that, you know, prescribed like every day what you should be doing. You should do this many miles or this type of run on this day. Your long runs were always on Saturday or Sunday. And I followed that almost to a T, because if I was going to do a half marathon, I wanted to do it right. You know, I wanted to feel good doing it. I wanted to make sure that I was putting in my best effort leading up to it. So I would do typically like a 12-week training program leading up to it.
Really intense,
and make sure that because I didn't want to go out there and feel like crap on the day of the run. You know, I wanted to go out there and run it and feel good and not feel like I was going to die. So I always stuck to the training program pretty rigid. And,
and that's every train. I was lucky I was training a guy whose wife was a professional runner, and he got a hold of me and he's like, okay, Kate, this is how you need to train for these events. Put in good quality miles. He was always like a quality over quantity guy. Okay. And so he kind of got my ear, and that's the only way I knew, because he just kind of took me aside and was like, you're doing too much of this and that. And Pat does a good job with people now, like not overtraining them. But yeah, it's still, I feel like most of the programs out there, in my opinion, just advise like to train, like it's almost like you're overtraining. Yeah. And then you're beat up and you're like, cool, I don't want to do that again for like 5 years.
It will get you ready. I mean, you know.
No, it will, but I think there's other ways you can cross train. You don't need to just do one modality, and it tends to just wear on you, where you could like do the step mill or row, or, you know, have all these other conditioning aspects that will help. But
So moving into CrossFit, I want to get away from that running for a little bit. So you got into CrossFit. All you did was, you know, I think you didn't. Did you ever go to the old barbell at all when we were there?
I went a couple times, not a lot, but I went a few times. Yeah.
Gotcha. So when we came to this gym, and what I wanted to kind of dive into is, at some point, you know, you did all CrossFit, and then you've struck like this really cool balance, it looks like, of doing Power Hour and CrossFit, which can be tricky because, like, you know, we can't coordinate 4 different training programs to, like, okay, if you hodgepodge and do different things. So, like, But you've seemed to really find a good balance of like doing Power Hour on the strength and then CrossFit as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's great that we have those options available to us here because I think it really has helped me, break up the monotonous of what I was doing, just CrossFit 6 days a week, right? Yep. Which is what I was doing for probably the first 5 years here. I mean, I think I just started Power Hour last year, maybe a little over a year ago. And I was doing CrossFit 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, And then in the last couple of years, like I said, I just kind of started feeling like I'd wake up and be like, I feel like I got hit by a bus, Yeah. What did I do? And it was just, I'd come in and do the CrossFit workout and I wasn't able to put in 100% effort because I was just so tired from the day before. And so like I was struggling through the workouts. I was struggling after the workouts. And I'm like, something's got to change. Something's got to change here. What can I do to maintain, potentially gain fitness at this point in my life? Still have fun doing the class aspect of things. And I was never really into weightlifting, like even, in college and whatnot, I never really enjoyed the weightlifting piece of it. And so for me, CrossFit was a good way to kind of sneak it in. And so the idea of Power Hour scared me a little bit because I was like, man, I don't know. I'm not into heavy lifting, and you always think like, oh, I don't want to get like too big and bulky. And that's what I always thought. Now I realize probably not going to happen for me. But, there were just things like hesitations that I had. And then once I started doing it, I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is different. I feel stronger. I feel better. The days that I do my CrossFit workouts, I'm able to actually go put in 100% effort, leave there feeling good about it, making good time on the workouts and stuff like that. Not that I really care all that much about what my time is, but it's nice to be able to do it versus like before I'd be like coming in last every day,
Yeah, no, it can definitely do that. And it's a tricky, so when I'm writing like CrossFit training for a big group, it's a tricky balance to where you got to give people what they want. And then oftentimes what they need, if I could get away with it more, to tell you the truth, I would plan in, you guys will see some weird days every once in a while. We'll do like static holds and like, or like a strength only style workout. If I could really wrap people's head around it, I would love to do that.
Well, your boss might not let you,
Yeah. 3 days a week. The problem is it clears the gym out. Like I don't like coaching to like one person. So I get them in there, but it's not as often as like I would probably like to do.
I think there just needs to be more education around it.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
And I think I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm giving you shit, but I get it because people just are like, oh, well, what's the point of this? Or we're not scoring, or you don't get that huge rush. But by like Thursday, anyways, everyone's like, I'm not putting anything in. You're all kind of in the same boat. Where if you slowed it down, you did more kind of like just strength moves or like the static holds, I think are great. And I think that's why yoga is such a good complement oftentimes to CrossFit, because you're doing so many of those static holds and we never do them in here. And it tears people up just to hold like a lunge, But I think if there's more education around it,
you can't white knuckle it every day for sure.
Yeah.
You can't. And I try and bake that in and slow workout. Like, Wednesday was a great example of like, we did like some biking. What do we have?
I can tell you.
Bar muscle ups, weren't there?
Yeah. You could do strict pull-ups, bar muscle ups, and then some hang snatches. And it was like a moderate intensity kind of piece. Workouts like that. I try and bake them in.
People really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah. People love that workout.
Yeah.
But workouts where I used to do like every 2 minutes, we'd pull like 3 deadlifts, and then the other ones we do maybe like front rack, like squats. We do that for 18 minutes and then like a big core workout at the end. Maybe you guys will see some of that coming back.
Yeah, I think that could be really good.
I'm discussing my programming like vision.
This
out
helps
of
us
it.
too.
Yeah.
Hey,
But no, I think it's
This is-
important. And what's really neat, I've seen your body change. I mean, subtly over like the last year. It's really cool to see it. And it's inspiring because, I feel like, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at every woman in their 40s as like inspiration.
Yeah.
And I want to see like where my ladies at that are still hanging in here after all these years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that many. They'll kind of like ebb and flow and just to like consistently show up. And it's been really neat just to see you structurally change just a little. And it's not like, I'm sure you haven't put on, you haven't bulked up a ton, but just,
No.
it's like your body looks a little more youthful, and it's
Yeah.
cool to see.
It is. Like I said, you worry like, oh, I don't want to get too big and bulky, but I would say, especially at
Not
this
a
point in
thing.
my life, not a thing. It's not a thing.
You got to eat for that.
It's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen to me. I mean, I'm a smaller boned person. I just don't think that's really possible for me. But I have noticed a difference. I feel stronger. I think you can just tell, like, as you get older, your muscle mass just starts to go. Like, I'm
Does,
46 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Got to do everything we can
you
to
gotta
hang
do
on to it.
everything
Yeah.
you can. Like, it just starts going downhill if you don't keep that up. And I think it's been really, I mean, I've really enjoyed it and like the progress that I've seen. So I mean, right now I'm doing CrossFit. Well, I do Power Hour like Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Cool.
And then I'm doing CrossFit like Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday is a flex day for me. Sometimes I do CrossFit, sometimes I do Power Hour.
Cool.
And then I also do yoga a couple days a week.
Do you?
I
Okay.
I will.
Where do you go to yoga?
I do go yoga.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I used to go. I maybe need to circle back there.
Yeah.
Try to find a new
there's,
yoga home.
Couple teachers that I follow and
Yeah.
really like. So yeah, that definitely helps to just break things up a little bit. On the days that I might feel tired or sore, I'll just take a break and do that. Listen to my body and make sure that I'm giving it what it needs. And sometimes I just need that break.
See, I mean, I think we probably just felt just as tired. We just didn't have as much stress when we were younger, and we wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And just be like, no, I'm going to go run
Yep.
again.
I need to
I'm going to wake up and run. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 days of Power Hour, 2 to 3 CrossFit, 2 yoga. So do you have days that you overlap and do like a Power Hour and a yoga, or?
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah, depending on my schedule, if I can make it work. There are a couple days where I might be doing like Power Hour at noon, and then maybe I'll do yoga in the afternoon or evening.
Cool.
And I try not to do that too much because I know that, it's nice to have those days where you're just like, okay, I'm just going to do yoga today and give your body that rest that it needs.
But then you can move 7 days a week.
Yes.
Yeah, I find more and more that works better for me too, where like I might have 2 or 3 days or like, hey, this wasn't much, but I'm moving a little bit every day.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest key, as I get older. I try not to take more than one day off. I find that if I take 2 days off in a row and then try to get back into it, it's like, I just start to feel sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, you just keep, body in motion stays in motion. You just gotta like keep on keeping on. I just feel like it's easier that way, even if it's just something little. Like I know the other day I couldn't make one of the class workouts, so I just came in at a random time and did, part of the Power Hour workout and walked on the treadmill for a while. And it wasn't like the workout I would typically do and like feel good about, but it was like I came and I moved for 30 minutes, and that's okay.
Right.
Like, it was better than doing nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's what I have to remind myself, especially as I get older. And I'm a single mom. I've got my daughter full time, so it's like hard to squeeze in stuff. And it's like, hey, if I can squeeze in 20-minute workout, it's a win for me. It's better than nothing. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes because it's hard, because I'm used to those days of like where I used to go to an hour-long class or, pound the pavement for an hour running. And I have to remember that I don't need to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, when you have like, I wouldn't say we got married old, but we had been grown-ups for a long time doing whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And so when you start to layer in like children and more responsibilities, and like, man, for 10 plus years, you had a certain sort of rhythm.
Yeah.
It is like you're,
It's like a puzzle.
it is.
You're trying to like fit all the pieces together. You're
Even
like,
a
I
couple
still
years
wanna
into
do
it, you're still not used to it.
Yeah.
You're still not. I mean, we have an 8-year-old, and I'm still like, man, it's weird having kids sometimes.
It is.
You know,
They put a damper in your workets, man, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, and I'm sure your daughter is this way. I mean, our kids are kind of conditioned, like I mentioned, I was kind of joking around, we're going to California, but they know what mom and dad are getting up and working out.
Yeah.
Like they know this. And if we didn't, it would freak them out. They'd be like, are you guys okay? What's going on? Are you sick? Or, so I think they're just so used to it, you know, it's kind of like, I think you get used to anything, and you growing up and being used to that, and hey, the whole rest of the day we'll do whatever you guys want, but like this is our like take care of us time, and I think it's important.
Yeah, it's good for them to see that. And, my daughter comes here on Saturday mornings with me, so she knows when we get up, I'm like, okay, it's Saturday. What are we doing today?
Yeah.
CrossFit. I'm like, yep. So she knows, and she enjoys it. She likes going to the kids' room and hanging out with them. And, it's good for her to see this and, just expose her to it at a young age and see that this is part of life. It's not just something that mommy does. It's something that, we'll all do together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a healthy way, and not like, hey, I'm just on another like fad diet or going through that like hot and cold. Like it's very steady, consistent, and something they can trust too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's important.
Is there anything you do? This is like, you're very like, again, like not to be weird, but you don't like, I never see you get fat or anything. Like, what do you do nutrition from a nutrition standpoint?
I have my ups and downs.
But we all do. But like, I mean, you always look really good, and you're really lean, and like, it's just very consistent. Like, is there any tips you have, or like, what do you do? What do you try and tell yourself from like a nutrition standpoint?
Yeah, I it's all about balance, right? We just try to maintain, but I have my months. Like I had a couple months ago where I just kind of let it go, and I was up 5-6 pounds, which for me is a lot.
Yep.
And so did hot for the holidays. That kind of helped kick me back into gear and got back into it. But no, I did the body biz years ago with Lauren, and that definitely helped me learn more about protein and my needs and, fueling for workouts and that kind of stuff. So I follow that loosely still when I can. And then for the last probably 25 years, I've been a pescatarian, so I don't eat meat. But I find other ways to get in my protein, fish, yogurt. I do dairy, eggs, all that. So I just try to focus on getting like 100, 120 grams of protein a day, doing 4 or 5 meals throughout the day is kind of good for me, smaller meals. But I think just staying consistent, knowing that you're going to have those days where you're off a little bit, or those fun times where I go to the diner with my daughter and we share a donut or whatever it is. And like, that's okay.
Yep.
But then there's times when you got to like kick it back into gear if you want to, you want to maintain that fitness. And the older you get, the harder it is. I can tell my metabolism has slowed down a little bit over the years. So, you really gotta watch it. But I know the minute that I start putting on a little bit of weight, my body just doesn't feel right. I feel a little bit uncomfortable. So to me, like there's just this internal like trigger that goes, okay, time to get it back into gear.
Yep.
And you do, and you just get back on track. And
5-6 pounds on me feels bad too. Like I totally get it. I went through that just the last few months too, where I was like, like I'm just pull-ups
clothes don't fit right. Like everything is just like a little off. You're like, ew, this is not fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, and I like our little contest we do have. I try and tell people, if you do both of them, even if you participate and you like fully participate in the way that like you kind of, you're at least trying, if at 2 points of the year for 6 weeks, so that's 12 weeks out of the year, out of that's a good percentage at 2 different spots of the year. If you like, hey, I'm going to all those running workouts, I'm going to do all these, like you're going to stay in good shape at those 2 like checkpoints. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if you just do those each year, or even once, like this hot for the holidays is like the hardest time to like stay in shape.
I feel like I need reeling in like twice a year, like a little like dial in, and I never know when it's going to hit. But I think it's really a healthy this is just kind of my perspective. I think it's healthy to allow yourself to fluctuate when you feel like just, okay, this month, you know what, this is my fun month, whatever you have going on. But then not to let it get so far away, but not to take yourself so seriously that you can't gain a couple pounds or you're having a nervous breakdown, and I think that's where you can feel a little tortured if your guardrails are so tight.
And I think in the past I was like that, where I was, and then I realized, okay, got to live a little bit. Because if you don't, like, it starts to become this mental, just nightmare. And I'm like, I can't,
and it's exhausting, and that shit will age you faster than anything else. Just the mental, anguish of, thinking about that. And
it's anxiety.
Yeah. And I'm always trying to, keep it in a healthy perspective. And it's tough sometimes when you care, but, you don't want to care too much.
Yep.
So I think the fun is where it comes in. Hey, I just want to have fun. I want to enjoy life, whether it's meals out with kids or cooking or, whatever, and just picking and choosing. But I like twice a year. I like, to kind of tell my clients that too, moving forward in the future, just twice a year, try to rein it in, find something you're excited about, whether it's a trip or an event or something, and kind of gear up for it.
That and vacations definitely help too. When you've got something coming up and you want to work hard towards it, that's always a good goal. I've done the summer shred before, which is always a nice, school in the summer, good time of year to do that. And then obviously Hot for the Holidays is great. Yeah, I'd recommend anyone doing that.
Yeah, you participate a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I won a few years ago. It was right after I had my daughter. So
I remember that.
No big deal.
4 years
but,
ago.
I did win. But not this year.
We should give out trophies, and people can bring all their flair in with them when they do the podcast. Just saying, this is all on front of you. Yeah.
3-time Hot for the Holidays winner.
Yeah. It's fun to see. I mean, you always, your half marathons, every time you do a competition, you're always showing a very solid effort. Not okay, well, Jamie turned in her pictures, but clearly.
I tried. I wasn't as good as I would have liked to have been this year.
To the pot.
Donated to the pot.
Give a donation.
Yeah.
No, but it's fun, and it's good. It's nice because it's also fun, talking to everybody around the gym, to see how they're doing. And, it's just it's a fun community thing.
It was competitive this year.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yes.
It was
okay.
It was really, it was one of the.
It was tough.
The toughest years we had. We had a few teams where oh man, it was really hard to pick, and people were, coming in and doing 2-a-day workouts.
Oh, wow.
And they were really going for it.
Spray tans and
yeah. It was intense. You start
Aaron
getting
made
some
Mandy retake her pictures in some booty shorts and sent them to me last minute.
Oh my gosh.
And it does matter. If it's hard to see the changes if you can't see someone's body much, and it all does matter. And it's tough. It's something we take seriously, and we're we're sitting down and looking over everything. And
we spent a whole evening
okay.
And how'd they do on the workouts? Okay. Made all the workouts. Here's their pictures, side by side, then side by side with the other people.
And it's tough because a lot of this is you're judging effort. You're judging effort, and when the final result is how difficult was that to get from point A to point B? And their life matters. It's almost like a college application. When you have, if you have all this other stuff going on in your life, and you're showing up like Kiri and Cassie, and they're pulling 24-hour shifts and meeting at random times. I think it all matters, right? And so it's fun, but it's a lot of pressure to decide. We try to take it seriously.
No, you guys do a good job.
Well, Jamie, I think some really good points that you made, the moving daily is something I've really noticed, and something we try and when we're traveling, I used to go on trips and I'd, just drink beer for 7 days straight and then come back in, and in 2 or 3 days I'd kick back. I couldn't, it'd be like starting from day one now. I can't do that. Yeah. So we work out the whole time, and everything's a lot more moderate, and you just saying that, like, for people who, it's like, maybe don't try and hit a home run with every workout, but like get them in more frequently. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that keeps, it's like, just keep it
Doubles
going.
and singles
Yes.
all day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm still trying to learn that
Once a month
lesson.
to hit a home run.
I'm still trying to learn that lesson. I'll like load up a bunch of weight and shoot.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, it's great advice. For anyone, like, because everyone will get to this age, and we're not old by any means. We got a lot more time. We want to work out and do this stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to just shift things. And I was talking to someone, I almost want to maybe do something like writing wise. I feel like your body changes about every 4 years a little bit. And you just have to make a little shift. It's not like necessarily for the work. It's just like what I'm doing right now that was working. All of a sudden you'll get into a 6-month phase where like I'm not netting the same result. I have to make like pull a workout out or replace it with something or change the way I'm eating or sleeping. And every 3 or 4 years, like just a little shift.
Try having a kid, so then see how it changes after that. Just saying.
Try that.
Just had to throw that in there.
I did have.
Yeah.
I had
Try
2
having a
kids.
child.
God, that must have been so hard on you. I did make him gain weight with me though, because there was a time I was like
we're out of time.
it was real close. I was creeping up on his weight. I'm like, you need to eat some ice cream now at night. Nightly ice cream.
It's good, eat it.
I'm sure you hated that, right?
Yeah, it's the worst.
Horrible.
I think I was in when she had Oscar. I think I was in the worst shape that I've ever
I have
been
some pictures
since I started CrossFit.
Pictures of us, like after I had Oscar,
Yeah.
but you wanted to make a transformation too. We both looked so tired and so depressed.
It was the worst shape I've ever been in.
So funny.
As
like
a
it was like a
CrossFit
mug
person.
shot or something.
Oh, that's funny.
It wasn't a long time. It was only a couple months. It was like 2 months, but it was like I was like, okay, that's enough.
It's enough to make you realize I need to do something about it and
Yes.
make that shift.
Yes.
And you need that almost, because if you were constantly here,
Yeah.
how do you know that you need to adjust? So I think it's okay to have those ups and
Yeah,
downs.
yeah.
Yeah.
You need them to appreciate being
I
up.
agree. And seriously, not to wear down your body and your nervous system. Like neurologically, I think staying super lean all the time is not real great. Yeah.
No.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. This is great, and I think a lot of people are gonna take some good nuggets out of this and apply them to training. And we look forward to keeping you working out here for a long time.
I hope I can stay for a long time. Thank you guys.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.